then I'm putting the first question in the
Thank you.
answered, so you can find it. Is remorse necessary for recovery and healing? Asking as a betrayed spouse whose husband hasn't demonstrated remorse in 18 months in recovery. That doesn't even sound like recovery to me. It sounds like he stopped acting out, but not recovery.
Well, it's a good question because there are
Mhm.
people who are just troubled in ways that they lack remorse. And then there are addicts who, when we're active in our addiction, we don't feel badly about what we've done at all, which is more a lack of empathy. But so I guess there's two issues here. One is that remorse is not required. Remorse is required for healing. What motivates me, in order for people to want to heal from any addiction, they have to be in pain. Nobody moves off the dime unless they're really uncomfortable. That fire has to be hot before you get off that stove. And so if he isn't feeling badly, why enter recovery? Unless he's simply trying to, cover up and make you feel better or whatever. So to me, a lack of remorse is concerning because that person is not demonstrating the reason that they're motivated for change. Um, Remorse is a great motivator. And most of the men who come to Seeking Integrity say, I mean, they may be coming from not the right place or whatever, but like, oh, I can't believe I did this and I hurt my family, I did this and that. They feel bad about it. They may not have empathy, which is, I can only imagine how they are feeling. They may not be able to put themselves in the eyes of the people they hurt, but they can sit back and say, wow, I did bad things and I don't like myself for doing that. But without that, it is concerning because there are diagnoses that go along with people who have not only lack empathy but lack remorse. But here's the thing: you're a spouse, and spouses, you're in your own pain, you're in your own trauma, you have your own. You guys have, God bless you, a filter through of unsafety and the way you look through the world, and that's understandable. But if I were going to ask a question like, is there something so unhealthy about my spouse that they don't show remorse? I'd want a professional to talk to them about that. And I'd probably want to sit with a really good couples therapist and say, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm not experiencing. I did write a book about this called Out of the Doghouse, a relationship saving guide for men caught cheating. There's also a Christian version that's written with scripture. And both of those books I found at least help men understand the job that they need to take on if they want the relationship to heal, whether they do it or can do it, but it is written out for them in Doghouse. And I think I sell more of that book than anyone, to be honest.
Yes,
Tammy?
you do. Well, and to that point, we have a work group starting on, I gotta look at my screen, on Seeking Integrity. I was pointing to yours. On the seekingintegrity.com site, the work group will start again in March. It's a 6-week course, 90 minutes each. There's Doghouse Level 1, Doghouse Level 2, which is starting tonight, for another group. So that is an opportunity for men to have a live facilitator work through that book and workbook with them. So it is very helpful. It's a useful place to start because they know that they're not alone. So that reduces some of the shame and helps them get in touch with some of the other things. But to Dr. Robb's point, the diagnosis, don't go to Dr. Google, please. Go get, as he mentioned, a qualified professional to help, if that's really the case. That is the best way to get the right help. So.
And what you said, Tammy, and we didn't pick up on this, I want to go back to it. You said something about 18 months in recovery, but you weren't sure about recovery. Can you say more about that?
Well, yeah, recovery is the process. And that's where, so I always say there's abstinences. I'm just not acting out, whatever the form or forms of acting out is. Sobriety is okay. It's a little better. I don't really have all the pieces together. Recovery is I'm living very differently. I'm working on being truly engaged. I'm not perfect. I'm not, I'm still learning, but, that person is showing up in a very different way. And if you look at someone in recovery and look back at, very early in the stages, you will see that that they have made some progress. It may not be as fast as you want, but it's across all areas of our life. It isn't just, I've stopped acting out. So therefore I'm in recovery. I don't see it that way. It's really a journey. So.
Well, and I wanted to add, where are you getting into this information that your spouse is 18 months in recovery? Do they go to therapy? Do they see a CSAT or someone who knows what they're doing? Are they going to support groups? Are they going to 12-step meetings? Do they have a sponsor? Are they doing things, something at least every other day or something to support their recovery? If someone's going to a meeting a week, or a little bit of couples therapy, and they say, well, I'm in recovery. And by the way, what is recovery? Or is he saying he hasn't had sex, or he hasn't acted out? Or it feels like, and this is just my feeling, like this is a spouse who is kind of just taking what's being said to her at face value. And trust me, as an addict, I will stuff as much into face value. Well, I'm working so hard, I'm learning a lot. And, I really feel like I'm gaining ground, all stuff that doesn't mean anything. So I would want to be really clear on, husband, what do you mean by recovery? And what are the things that you're doing regularly to assure me that you really are working on that? Because as Tammy said, I can stop acting out and that will make things better. But if I want to be a good, kind, loving human being who's compassionate and gives of myself, that's really what it's all about, beyond simply stopping. So thanks for saying that, Tim.
Okay, so the next question. My husband is in recovery, seeing qualified therapist, attending group, is in out of the doghouse class. He's late 60s and in therapy realized he has little emotional capacity and trouble connecting emotionally. He's working on that now, but can he ever really connect to me and feel real empathy?
Um, that's a lot. I don't think that age necessarily has anything to do with it. We have, it always surprises me, and there's probably some there right now. We have men who come into residential treatment, they're 66, they're 70. So obviously there's enough love on both sides for people to believe that at any age, and I have seen people wake up out of a long, long sleep and say, oh my God, this is who I am. This is, so I don't think, just to say it, I don't think his age would be a reason why he wouldn't be able to do that. And second of all, what you said, and he has little emotional capacity, trouble connecting emotionally. Okay, that is every sex addict I have ever met. You can put us all in a room, and whatever history we have, whatever problem we have, it all comes down to, it's very hard for us to connect. We're very fearful of intimacy. It's easier to be intimate with a stranger than it is to open up to someone we care about. And, there's lots of reasons for that. I could give you some of the reasons, but I want to actually do more questions tonight than answer. Because we never always get to all the people we have. But in any case, I was going to say something about couples work, because he is not going to be able, as a couple are not going to make these motions while he's going to therapy. This is something you're going to have to do yourselves. And as a matter of fact, Tammy, PACT therapy, Dr. Tatkin's work, PACT. He does some really good work about couples really finding each other's rhythms and learning how to listen in ways that they feel. And I think he does really good work. If you're looking for a PACT therapist, right, Tammy? TAMI at Seeking Integrity. We know all the good ones. But yeah, I don't think that, I think what he's describing is very appropriate for someone, whether he was 30 or 80, who's really just realizing what sex addiction has meant. Because sex addiction is all about disconnection. Addiction is all about disconnection, and it's purposeful disconnection unconsciously, because getting close to someone is probably going to hurt us, like it might have hurt us when we were younger. There's a part of us that thinks about that. But we want to be close. We long to be close. So we come this way and then we run away. And we go closer. It's our issue. So you're right on it.
And I'm hopeful because he's doing a lot right. I would encourage you to consider the Couples Healing from Betrayal work group that starts March 3rd. And part of it is grieving losses together, hearing the connection of that. There's communication and there's a lot of really good information in that 6-week course. And it could be a really good starting point. I do think getting a great couples therapist would be an option too. So there's lots of support, but I'm actually encouraged that he's doing the work. Like that's hopeful. I get lots of them where, he's seeing a therapist or he won't. I love this one. No, I don't. I hate it. He won't do blah, 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 but he's in recovery. No, he's not. So, okay.
Well,
next question.
Just one more thing about this question. I'm sorry. They're all so good, is that, it doesn't say, I don't think, how long he's been working on this.
Mhm.
unless you see that and I don't, Tammy.
Mm-mm.
So, I'm going to be very different show different kind of empathy and remorse at 3 months into recovery than I am at 6. And I can tell you at 25 years in recovery, I am a very different, more compassionate, more engaged, do think ahead for the most part about what other people might feel. But, it's a long-term proposition, and it just doesn't happen because someone has 6 weeks of recovery. And Tammy and I hear all the time, what I said earlier, which is, well, they're sober, but they're still not very nice to me. And it's like, well, being sober can happen fairly quickly, but becoming a better person takes time. The couples piece is, what are your expectations? If you're an emotionally love-starved partner, and all of a sudden this person says, I'm working on change, I would say, finally, I'm going to get something I've wanted for a long time, but they may only be able to give this much, and you may be able to say, I'm ready for this. And so, again, I think the couples work is really a good place to do this.
Okay. Next question. My SA husband has been sober and in good recovery for 18 months. No more abusive behaviors. That's fantastic. But I find I can't get past the ache over the loss of my marriage and lovely family life. He acted out for 18 or 15 years with friends of mine. Oh, all over our house and property, on couples trips, on vacations with me, etc. I'm having trouble pretending that it all never happened, is looking past or ignoring the treachery. When they call healing, my brain is firmly stuck on the fact that no matter how good his recovery, this is still a person who is capable of horrific acts. This person has a CSAT, has done EMDR, have no terrible traumas from my youth or family of origin. Any advice to help me move forward?
Well, the first thing I want to say is, you're right. It is true. What you just said is, my brain is firmly stuck on the fact that no matter how good his recovery, this is still a person who's capable of horrific acts. That's true. And in fact, with the men that I work with that's seeking integrity, one of the things that's important to me is, I don't ever want to, when I say to someone, how are you feeling about leaving? And how do you think you're going to do in recovery? And they say, oh, great. I really got this. I'm on top of this. I worry about them because they're out of touch with how bad it can be and what they have done and how horrible it was and how much it hurt people. The people who leave treatment and say, I hope I can do this. I'm going to do my best, and with a lot of connection and support. And it's going to take me a long time to grieve what I've done to my relationship. That's the person that I'm more hopeful for. So, but we're talking about this other person, him, and I'm more concerned about you. Um, Tammy groaned when she heard it. I think this is one of the most difficult things I hear from spouses is, in my house, in my bed, in my car, and I certainly have worked with people who said, I don't want to live here in this house anymore, and I don't want to, and I want a new bed. And I think those kinds of, if you can empower yourself to take some choices, not be focused on, well, is he in recovery and is he doing well? And can I let down my guard? But what are you doing to take hold of what will make you feel safe and holding on to it? Because I've heard spouses say, I do not want to live in this house anymore. And, the addict will find a way to, well, but why are you making such a big deal of it? It's not the house. We can fumigate the house, whatever. No, this is what you feel. And this is what you need. And so that's part of what I would do, is look at what will make me feel safer and better just on my own, and then in relationship to this person. I would concretize it, as often with also with the last person, about empathy and, what do you really mean? What do you really want? What are you not getting? I mean, that's what's in out of the doghouse, is you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. Um, and I'll say one more thing that also is in the doghouse, is that I say to every man in there, you do not have to stay in this relationship. You do not have to stay with this man or woman. You do not have to, well, doghouse is about husbands. You don't have to stay with her. You don't have to say, you can go act out, you can find other people. But if you want to stay in this relationship, then you're going to have to put your ego aside and do what makes them feel safe. So I would look to what makes you feel safe and comfortable. Well, you'll never be comfortable. By the way, you'll never forget this. You will never forget the naive sense, which we should all have about our most meaningful relationships, that that person would never go out the door and knowingly do something that will hurt me. That's a naive trust. I mean, what we want in our spouses is to think, well, they may have a bad day, they may do something, whatever, but they wouldn't knowingly make a decision about doing something that they know would hurt me and do it anyway. Once you know that, you can't unknow that. And so it is a different relationship. You won't look at this person again and say, you know, I can try, they'll never betray me. They'll never let me down. You know, a lot of you say, I thought I had a great relationship. This was the last person well, now you know, and they're right next to you. And so it is harder to regrow a relationship when you look at them one day and you feel the warmth and love, and you look at the other day and you say, I can't trust this person. And I think that is a part of the healing journey. However, I'd have a camera in the house, just to say it, to make sure that I'd want to see who's coming and who's going. And I'd want to, because so I'll just be really honest and I'll stop. Someone who's done this level of acting out, um, and this is, by the way, very incestuous behavior, because it is in your house, it is with friends that you know, it is with other couples who were on a trip. It was, you know, people who do all this behavior in and around their home are very different than the people who only see anonymous people and they only do it when they're out of town. And it actually points out to me some of their damage from early in life. And what I'm looking at here is pretty damaged. Imagine what it would take for someone to say, I'm just going to get in the bed that my spouse and I slept in for 12 years, and I'm going to screw someone else and hope they don't leave an earring. You know, I mean, who thinks that way except somebody who's really, really troubled? I've had a lot of sex with a lot of people, but I didn't get anyone else's marital but that to do it. So there's there's just stuff here. And, you know, I don't know how much therapy, how much treatment he's getting outside of the good recovery, seeing a CSAT. I have a CSAT
This
and I've
person
been
has a
EMDR.
CSAT, yeah,
Who
but
is he
yeah,
seeing? Because this is a
yeah, yeah. This and you know what? I mean, like it's all bad, but when it's with friends, because that's the double betrayal that this friend. So both of them conspired and did this, and that just breaks my heart for you, because that is, you know, the extra layer. I mean, bad enough that they bring it in the house, but extra when it's someone, you know, that's supposed to be in your world and to be in your, you know, be your friend and be supportive. Family members, I hate it when it's, you know, sister-in-law or whatever it is.
mm,
You know, it's just really problematic. So I hope you are finding really good support for you. But yeah, the grieving the loss and the betrayals, it's not a betrayal, it's
right.
betrayals. And that's going to be challenging. So you're getting help, you're doing the right things, but it also is time. So Debbie McRae did a grief webinar last Friday. Part one, there'll be part two in a couple of weeks, but
These are
the
free,
recording, yes,
right?
the recording is up on sexandrelationshiphealing.com. Any of the previously recorded webinars are posted there under the resource tab. I would
And they're
encourage you
free.
to, yeah, and she had some very good specific things, you know, but about the grieving process, and grieving is unfortunately where you're at with grieving losses of memories of trips and all of that. So we have
And
bunches of questions, so
let
go
me
ahead.
just say one more thing about this. You know, I just want to pull out a couple of words real quick. My brain is firmly stuck on the fact, and then you say, any advice to help me move forward? I don't think you should push yourself to move forward. I think this is a really one of the worst stories we hear on a whole bunch of levels. By the way, when could you and another couple ever go to dinner without your thinking, I wonder, I wonder? I mean, your whole world has been poisoned. So I would give yourself permission to not call it be stuck, but more, you know, I'm not ready to move on yet. And I think if you put a different frame around that, have some kindness to yourself. This is really awful stuff. So anyway, I'm ready for those
Okay.
questions.
Do you have any tips, recommendations for sex porn and fantasy addict with hyperplan to hyper oh,
Hyperphantasia.
oh,
Sounds like
you,
something they do at Disneyland.
yeah, it does. Okay. I'm in intensive outpatient therapy, 12-step many times per week, etc. Hypophantasia. Do you know what that?
I'm supposed to know what that is because I'm the professional, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's look it up. I'll be right with you. Let me,
Okay. I
but I
will.
have a few, uh, okay, spell it for me, Tammy. Hyper,
Hyper. Yeah.
huh? Hyper
H
what?
Y P E R PHANTASIA.
Okay, everyone's going to get to know what this is. It's a condition of having an extremely vivid memory. So this is
Oh,
someone who can literally hold on, and I've heard about this, you know, that, for example, I'll say this to you, Tammy, the person who struggles with porn and compulsive masturbation, we can often say turn off the porn and the masturbation is probably going to slow down or whatever. But this is someone who, it doesn't matter what they're doing, they have it running, the porn is running in their head. And so they can see it. Um, I just think two things. Number one, are you masturbating to that, or are you just letting the thoughts go through? Because, you may see the picture, you may see the image, you may see the film play out. Um, by the way, just as a therapist, I would say, what is at the end of that? We tend to just look at the picture, but what is on the other side of it? What's at the end of the film? But in any case, I would not be masturbating to this. And I would also have some level of acceptance, which is, I've been hypersexual for a very long time, and I have used my brain in this way. And over time, it will dissipate, but not, no offense, but it sounds like an addict. I want to feel better now. You're in intensive therapy, and many 12-step meetings a week. To me, that means you're, in the first 18 months or something like that. It's a little too soon, I think, for you to have that expectation of yourself that it's just going to go away. And things, the funny thing about the brain, the less you engage something, the less you long for it. It's like people say they drink, after stopping for a year, they don't have the same craving that they did, because their brain is not saying every time, oh, the solution is. So, I would give your brain some time to heal and be a little more kind to yourself. Gosh, I wish I had hyper fan. I could probably remember a lot more if I had that. So there's nothing wrong with you. It's just how you've been living. Now, Tammy, is there anything for you for
No,
that? We learned a new word.
We did. And I think it's one of those, like you said, you're doing the right things. And the more you shift the focus to, what's in your outer circle, and I've shared this before, I like to go for hikes. What I'm doing things that get me connected to other people and to nature and all of those things. And that keeps, that's a good thing for my brain. And I love 12 step, don't get me wrong. So 12 step is great, but also do things that are recovery specifically related, that are meaningful to your life. That I signed up for a great course that's about geographical wonders of the world, because I thought I want to learn more about that. Fascinating, well, to me, but it was just one of those where, like, it's completely not recovery related, but it was really interesting for me.
But it's completely recovery related, because nobody gets sober, as they say, and to have a miserable, boring life. I mean, you may not have fun the way you used to have it, but go ahead, Tam, you were going to say.
No, I think that's, so find things that are meaningful to you. I take up pottery, whatever it is. So.
I love pottery.
I do too. I want to do that. Sometime when we're together, we'll go to paint a pot. So, okay. Essay with over a year and a half of recovery. Have a question regarding contacting a former affair partner. My spouse and I conducted a formal disclosure in June of last year. Prior to the disclosure of a former affair partner had reached out wanting to get coffee. I immediately blocked her and erased her from social media. My spouse was informed with all of my other acting out history. The issue now is that she seems unable to let go of why the affair partner had reached back out to me, since it was a couple years ago. My spouse suspects that one of her 2 children might have been mine, and that is why she's trying to contact me. My spouse feels that there might be some undisclosed information that could still come up. After speaking with our CSATs, they both advised us at the time of disclosure to not contact her or any former affair partner as one of our boundaries. 8 months later, my spouse is still fixated on finding out what she wanted. She's unable to move on until she knows that the child is not mine. Do we agree to violate the boundary? Wow.
I'm going to ask you to start with that. I'm going to sift through it because there's so many questions. Both of us advised us at the time of disclosure not to contact her. I would agree that, or him. 8 months later, my spouse is still fixated on what she wanted. I mean, that sounds like any addict I've ever met. What I'm impressed with is that, because if he or she is telling you, if someone's saying to you, I'm obsessing about this, that means they're being honest.
No, the partner is obsessed about.
Oh,
yeah, you've got it.
Of course.
Yes. So to me, it's like she's fixated. What is it she's looking for? And I'm sorry, but how sad that, like, this incident and stuff that happened years ago, like you're like, you guys are stuck because you are unable to move forward. Eddie Caparucci did a really good webinar in December, I think it was. So on the sexandrelationshiphealing.com, check that one out. But it was about partners who kind of get stuck. And so like people often are like, why, like this, why was she reaching out? And I think the better question is how do we, the two of you, you and your wife, move forward and not have the affair partner be the third person in your relationship, which is kind of what it feels like to me right now. You've had two professionals that know you well that are saying, don't do this. And I would also say, what, like, play out every scenario, every single scenario of like what the affair partner, maybe she just, she was lonely and wanted to reach out. Like what will come of that, whatever the thing is. So that's my thoughts. What are yours?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wrote down the word detective work because on some level, all spouses want to look at the phone bills, want to look at the cell, want to look at all our social media. I mean, you want to know what's going on. And what the addicts I work with all the time think that you're doing that so that you can find the thing that is going to, prove them wrong. And my experience is you're actually doing it for safety, that you look through all that stuff so that you can have a sense of control. Like, what do I not know? I need to know so I can feel safe. What's wrong with that? Very pro-dependent. But what I hear is, how do I say this? It's not unusual in my experience, for a spouse to say, if you just tell me this one thing, that's it. I'm not going to ask more questions. I'm going to feel better. And then the minute you answer, there's like, well, but there's this one more thing I want to know. And this feels a little bit like another thing that if I knew this, then, and, I think you need to follow the advice you're paying for. And what Tammy said about grief, I think watching that grief seminar, I'm going to say this in the nice way possible. None of your relationships are going to be the way they were. None of them. You're never going to look or feel about this person the way you did. Now, it may grow into a more connected, more open, but that sense of that the vows meant something, that we really weren't going to ever hurt each other, I mean, that's gone. And the sense of I will never be surprised by what they're out there doing, that's gone too. So it's a very different kind of relationship. And I think a lot of spouses say, well, when is it going to get back to, I don't want backing out, but when is it going to not only get back to where it was, but be better? And I don't know that it'll ever go back to where it was. And I don't know what better looks like. It's different for everybody. So did I do that right, Tammy?
Yeah, no, but like, I just feel you guys are doing this process. You've gone through disclosure. You're trying to build a foundation to move forward, and you appropriately, apparently, blocked the person, and like you didn't engage and go, hey, what do you want? So for your spouse, so your betrayed partner, to get so single focused on the affair partner is challenging. I hope your partner is leaning into her CSAT and doing work on the betrayal trauma. But to me, it really is, how do we move forward, not stay stuck in the past from years ago? So,
and the particular thing about the child, like, does she have a child? And that's another sort of level of fear. Like, what if they're still talking? What if she has a child? It's what kind of the what ifs that part of the detective work. And I don't think you can't reassure somebody in those circumstances. You can't make them feel better. They are where they are. And by the way, that's one thing I would say is stop trying. Well, it was this, it wasn't really that, and there's no, just, I'm sorry, it must hurt so much, and I can't believe that happened, and I hope you'll find a way to forgive me. And then you just move on. Because you can't make this better, and you don't have any new information, and it makes you look more guilty if you keep apologizing and asking for forgiveness and all that. So very difficult. These are all difficult.
Yeah. So next question. I'm the addict, bad actor of having actual affairs. Just remember, if you're, well, it doesn't matter. I'm the addict, bad actor of having actual affairs, and my betrayed girlfriend of 10 years will not participate in the recovery process, as she is a victim of sexual abuse as a child and has never sought therapy. And so I guess I don't know if there's a question there. How can I get her to engage and participate? There was a part B, but it was,
Oh,
yeah,
you can't.
right.
You can't make, well, you can lead a horse to water. You understand this isn't about you. This isn't about your relationship. This isn't about your cheating. Only that it triggered some things for her. And as you said, she never sought therapy. That means she doesn't really want to look at this. And you have brought it all up for her, whether she liked it or not. And now basically you're saying, okay, now that I threw all the poop on the table, I want to clean it up with you. And she's like, I never wanted it on the table in the first place. This is, by the way, one of the themes that in codependence is that codependency really says, oh, well, let's look at all of your issues. A lot of spouses just want things to go back to the way they were or be a little bit better. You don't necessarily want to self-examine everything that happened in your life. So what you didn't say is, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go up and down. Um, why? Why does she need to go to therapy? What is it that's going on so badly between the two of you that you really feel that she has to go to therapy? Um, participate in the recovery process. What do you want from her? I mean, you want to get her into therapy because you think that's the way that you guys are going to reconnect in this new world that you're living in called recovery. Can't you connect in a whole bunch of other ways? Does she have to be part of your day-to-day recovery? I mean, it's helpful if spouses want to go to therapy or they want to deal, they want to go to a group, but I really respect that some people are very private. Some people are very scared. Some people have lots of issues, and they may not choose to move forward with a lot of self-examination. And I think you must respect that. You've already violated this person with your behavior. If they are trying to protect themselves by not going further into it, it's just another violation. Plus, it's like guilt. Well, we're going to get better. So if you were just doing that, this or that, take your eyes off of her. She's got enough stuff of her own. Look at what you're doing and how you're maintaining your healing and how you're focusing on you. And eventually, she'll either realize, here's the good thing, if you stop acting out and you're really, really working your recovery, I mean, being a good spouse, supporting, showing up, clearly taking care of yourself, it will come to her over time that you're not the problem, that you're actually being the person that she wants you to be, but she's still miserable. And if she's still miserable and you're not the problem, she might have to turn and look at her own stuff, but not because you're asking her to do it, because she has found a way to this. I want to grow. So the best thing you can do is focus on you and be sympathetic. That really sucks that you went through that, and I love you dearly, and I'm sorry. Tammy, do you have anything else there?
The only other thing I have to, because like bad actor, I always struggle when there's good and bad and like that type of thing. So you had problematic behaviors. Absolutely. You were hurtful and you added to her hurt, but you added to yours as well. So I appreciate that you're here. I appreciate that you're working on it. I encourage you to really lean into, how do I be a different person? Like all of the work groups that are on the seekingintegrity.com site. I was thinking of the Eddie Caparucci, because he talks about being the new
Which they
guy. And
love.
yes, oh yeah. But he talks about being the new guy, but it's looking at our inner child stuff, like Troy Loves with the attachment. I mean, it's good stuff, but it'll help you understand that we are responsible for our behaviors. We have to take ownership of that, but the good and bad and all of that, I guess I struggle with those particular words. It's like, I chose some really poor options and it was very painful for everybody. Doesn't make me good or bad, but my actions were problematic. So
And
anyway,
I want to
that's my
jump
thought.
on that because everyone who comes into treatment says, starts from when we really get them in touch with what they've done, how they've hurt others, whatever, they move right to, I'm a bad, terrible person. This is unresolvable. I'll never get better. And, first of all, that's a form of self-obsession because it's still about, I'm so horrible. I'm so this and that. But, it's so much more comfortable and realistic and true to say to an addict, you're not bad, you're broken. You never learned how to do this. You learned how to do it this way. You kind of got broken along the way, and we can teach you how to, as all of your partners know, the crack will still show, but we can glue you back together and have you be functional and a more, connected, aware human being. But where was I? I lost my track. I went on to a
The
different
bad,
question.
because you were talking about good and bad.
Right, but yeah, right. So I think bad is a word best used for uh, for people who are unredeemable, I guess. I don't actually think they're any bad people, but there's certainly more broken. People are more broken than others, and some are not fixable. There's one way to look at it.
Well, and I love the glue analogy, and we've talked about this before too. But when you glue something together, it doesn't break in that same spot. That becomes a source of strength. And I think, I look at our lives, and addiction played a huge part in it in a very negative way for a long time. But then we were able to turn that, and now it serves me well because I'm able to hopefully help
Right.
other people in a meaningful way. So I love those analogies of like we're broken and we can be glued, and we can be stronger where we were broken. In our brokenness, we can have strength. So
And very simply, Tammy is saying that we can make lemonade out of lemons, and I am grateful. I can't tell you what it means to get a letter we just got a letter from someone who'd gone through our treatment program 2 years ago. And no one's asked to write, no one has to write. We just wish people well and hope they'll do. But once in a while, this 2 years later, someone wrote us and said, "You have no idea how things are going well in my life. I'm so grateful." And that's the gift that I get because I used to do problematic things as I have gone past them, and now I can help other people with those problematic things. And so Tammy's right. You can make your lemons into lemonade over time, but first you got to move from bad to broken, in my opinion.
hmm hmm
Because bad people don't help people, but broken people can.
hmm
What do we got, Tammy?
Okay, the next one. We are 7 months past D-Day, and I'm still terrified to leave my house. My husband of 18 years disclosed that he would act out anytime I was out of the house. I'm in therapy, and he is also with a CSAT. I'm working on recovery from the trauma the best I can. I even saw conversations he had where he tried to get an affair partner to come over and have a quickie in our garage while I was running a quick errand. How do I move into being strong in my boundaries and being comfortable living again?
Um, I just want to say something that this is completely from an out of perspective. When this person, it's a woman, said, I even saw conversations he had where he tried to get an affair partner to come do a quickie in the garage when I was out for an errand. And you say even like that's surprising. That's what we do. If I got 5 minutes and I can get away with something, I'm going to get away for it. So just want to say to you that is very typical behavior for us. And so when you say even that, I think, well, no, that's what we do. I don't understand, Tammy, the terrified to leave my house. I mean, that
Because she's
that I
afraid
don't.
that if she leaves the house, he's admitted that every time that she left, he
Oh,
acted out.
okay,
So if she
right,
leaves the house, she's not guarding the house and keeping him from acting out.
right.
That's what it feels like
So
to me.
one of the main themes in codependence, and I cannot say this strongly enough, is that none of us can help none of us can make someone else act out. And none of us can make someone else not act out. They're going to do what they're going to do. So you being home, and how do I say that? I think it's counterproductive for you to assume that somehow your being home is going to guarantee that he's not going to bring somebody home. This is like the partner who says, I'm going to go on all your business trips with you because I know if I'm with you that nothing bad will happen, as if you couldn't go off and do something in the restroom on your way upstairs. It's just
As
faster.
the previous one pointed out on couples trips.
So, I mean, what you're talking about and terror is a strong word. I mean, what you're saying is my sense of trust has been so violated that I can't leave this person for 5 minutes without wondering if they've been at it again. Tammy, do you want to jump on this? There's a lot of things to talk about.
Well, there is, but
I
I
think the
think
last,
it's,
like the question.
yeah. To me, it is because you say he's doing his work. I'm in therapy, and he is also the CSAT. You didn't indicate how much work he's doing, like 12-step, and is he going on the sex and relationship healing? Is he doing, the sex addiction 101 work group? I mean, so a little bit of it. If he's only seeing CSAT, even if it's the most amazing CSAT 50 minutes once a week, these are patterns that are old. And so like I would be concerned too about him acting out. But like Dr. Rob said, you have no control, what he chooses to do. It's really for him, what is he engaging in on his recovery level, because you're 7 months past D-Day, but I like, what is his recovery plan? What is he doing to help you feel safe so that you don't feel like you have to, put the moat up around the house and keep people out?
Yeah, I wanted to double up on that, Tammy, with this last sentence, because you really want to know how to be strong in your boundaries and live comfortable living again. Surrender any control you have over his behavior and realize he's going to do whatever he wants. And if he's doing the right thing, great. You'll feel and know that. If he's doing the wrong thing, you'll feel and know that too. You have to trust yourself. Almost every spouse, when they feel like this person's acting out, they're often right. Not always, but often. So you got to trust your gut. So really focusing again on you, taking care of you, connecting with some of the support groups so that you can hear other women and how they try to figure out trust. But bottom line is, I think the fastest and easiest road to getting in your boundaries and feeling comfortable living in is coming to the place of understanding that no matter what you do, no matter where you are, if this is something he's going to do, he's going to do it. And you don't have any control over it whatsoever. It's like a surrender. I am powerless over what my spouse might or might do. And trying to sit home and control it is making my life completely unmanageable. Where's your fun? Where's your recreation? Where are you going out and having, being with a couple of friends doing something together? You're sitting home, but you're punishing yourself. You're not having a life because you're focused on what he or she might do. And this is not healthy for you. And so the answer is to turn to yourself and look at, how do I want to live? What do I want for myself? What is fun for me? What are my goals? And less focus on him might get you out of the house. So Tammy likes that answer, I could tell.
No, and I really do, because I subbed in on the betrayed partner group again last night, and when I'm listening to the stories, and I won't share any specifics of anybody, so don't worry. But when I'm hearing it, I hear how much time and energy and focus the partners have on him and his acting out, and it sucks up all the energy, all their energy. And I get it. I get, looking for safety. So I'm not blaming. It's just sad to me that, so I empower you. You do what you're going to do. If his main focus is still going to be on acting out, he will find a way to act out. If his focus is on repairing the relationship, on being a person of integrity, on doing the right things, and being, as Dr. Rob said, with the Out of the Doghouse, of doing the right things to be in that relationship, you will know it, but you will also have a life. I know, really briefly, as I hear lots of people, and one person, he absolutely refuses to do anything. She's like, I'm carving out my own life. I'm doing me, and he's going to be left in the dust and not understand what happened to him. But she's like, I have a life, I have friends, and I'm doing my life. And I was like, you go, girl. So okay, ready for the next one?
I'm just writing a note to everyone.
Okay.
Instead,
just remember, the chats
Tammy,
we ignore because we've got so many
I'm
questions.
responding to the question that was just asked. But did you know when I went to college, I didn't know how to type? Because my mother, this is when I grew up, I just have to say this. When I was growing up, because this is the world you and I lived in.
Yeah.
I was a boy in high school, and I turned to my mother at 17 and I said, there's this thing about $10 and you can learn how to type. I want to learn how to type. And my mother said, oh no, you're going to have a secretary. You're never going to need to learn how to type. So
she was wrong.
She was wrong. Yeah, because I don't have one. Not even yet. Okay, let's go to work.
And I was a girl, and I was the speediest typist in my class. Yeah. I know. Okay.
That's not surprising.
I know, because like everything fast. So should my husband share his 3-circle with me? He went through SI. He went through our treatment program in August of last year. We have not done disclosure 2 years since D-Day. His therapist has been working to prepare him for disclosure. He is doing his work. But the bottom line question is, should she know what his 3-circle is?
So the answer is no and yes. It really is. The answer is, and really, I mean, this is exactly what I think. If you look at that plan and you haven't been disclosed, you're going to see stuff on there and you're going to say, oh, I didn't know that was on there. Or did you put that on there because you did it already? Or it's only going to provoke questions about why did you put that on there? Does that mean you did it? Because you don't know anything. So if it were me, I think every spouse has the right to see my recovery plan. There's nothing for me to hide. I hear guys say, oh, that's my private stuff from 12-step program. Bullshit. You get to know what my plan is because it's our relationship, and you get to know that that I'm not allowed to do this, or it is okay for me to do that. You can even discuss it with me. You can even say there are things you don't like on there, and I could negotiate them with you or talk to my sponsor. It is an open contract for a couple to understand together, even though it's my commitment. However, if you've not done disclosure, I think it's going to open up a world of pain. And either you're going to walk around wondering why certain things are on there and what does it really mean, or he's going to tell you things that you're not ready to hear because you don't have the support. So, my question would be, what is the upside of this at this moment? Yes, after disclosure, or even at disclosure, you could know all of it. But right now I will say something, Tammy, to you, and perhaps I have a different way of working, but we do a consultation group for therapists every week. And Tammy and I do this. We meet with as many therapists who want to meet with us. We don't charge them, and we answer their questions. And one of the things that comes up is some of the therapists take 6 months to a year to do disclosure. And if I were a spouse, I would lose my mind. I really think a couple of months is probably enough time, if everybody's doing their work. And so I do think, it's been 2 years since D-Day. Does it really take his therapist 2 years to get him ready to do disclosure? I mean, not to criticize other therapists, but I hate when you spouses are left in the dark for such a long period of time, because it's incredibly painful for you. And that's my rant. So there you go, Tammy.
Well, and as somebody who's been to treatment has a timeline, they have a lot of the foundational components. So it would be, I think, fair to have a session with your therapist and his therapist and talk about what is the plan, when is, and if he needs to hurry it up, if he's dragging his feet, because gosh, addicts never do that. Like what needs to happen in order for that to happen. So
I agree with Tammy. I want to say something about that because, I don't know if you know this, we lie. And I could imagine saying to you, well, my therapist
in our active addiction, it's a very big thing. So yes.
Yeah, well, that was me as broad addicts. Yes, I was just thinking we addicts lie.
I work really hard on having integrity.
And it's not unusual for us to come home and say, well, my therapist said, and the truth is the therapist never said any of that. So, this therapist may have been begging him to do disclosure for a year, and he keeps coming up with drama and trauma to talk about, and he keeps, addicts are also seductive. So he sort of seduces the issue. So I absolutely agree with Tammy. I think and by the way, you don't have to have a therapist in there. You can call the CSAT and say, I would like to come in and sit in on a session with you guys. I have some things on my mind. That you're not intruding. You're not becoming part of his therapy. You're a spouse who wants to share and get some support one time or twice. That's it. So I certainly will do that, because as a therapist, I kind of want to know who the spouse is anyway. And boy, when you put the three people, by the way, if he says absolutely not, under no circumstances can you come to my therapy, I'd worry. Because none of us should have anything that we really have to hide. So complicated, but easy.
Next question. I am a male addict that is in recovery. I was in recovery for about a year. I relapsed with porn on Friday. I own my actions and I own my relapse. My partner is completely and understandably devastated with me and going through trauma. I own that I did this. Where do I go from this relapse? What do I do going forward, and how do I handle the situation?
But Tammy, what do you think this person is talking about exactly? Their relationship, or what do they need to go forward? What do they want to handle?
I think it's so we talk often about slips and relapses. What I hear is that you slipped and you owned it. That to me is very different than a relapse. A relapse is, I didn't tell anybody and I had kept going, and then my partner found out and all of that. So I would be talking to the partner and say, I know this is really hurtful for you. What can we do? How, what are you looking for that would help you feel safe again? And so that I can rebuild trust. But it's challenging to me, because often partners will go, I hate that you're telling me this, that you slipped. but I appreciate that you're telling me and that I didn't
Right.
find this out. So there's a little disconnect for me and wondering what else is getting tapped into for your partner. Like, this feels like it's deeper than I just watched porn on Friday and told. So,
This person said that their partner found out before he told her
that
or
is okay.
him.
I gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
So you
Okay.
blew that one.
Yeah.
So
Oh, sorry, I misread that. So,
well, no, you didn't misread it. It came up in the
uh-huh.
chat. So what we now know is, you say you own your actions, you own your relapse, but you only owned it once it was found out. Do I have those pieces right, Tammy?
Yes, and he added, to add to my question, the porn was downloaded app where real people post themselves, which I understand may be devastating than regular porn. And I don't know that it's the, what flavor of porn it is, so to speak. I think it's, you did it and you got caught. So
Well, and you unfortunately did the most problematic thing, which is your spouse lost all trust again. Because had you, and what Tammy was talking about, that where spouses, as much as they hate it, also realize, wow, I've never had them be this honest with me before. And of course, honesty is the issue much more than even the sex. It's trust. Can we trust each other? Well, had you gone to her and said, I hate to tell you this, but I looked at some porn and blah, 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 it probably wouldn't be going as bad. In fact, I'm certain. But what you did was you kept the secret until she found out. And I don't care if it was an hour or 3 hours, you didn't tell her when it happened, after it happened, within a reasonable amount of time. So she's not devastated by what you did sexually or in the porn, because I was thinking, that seems a little out of sync.
yeah,
What
me
she's
too.
devastated about is that you didn't tell her when you had the chance. And she found out. Discovery, this is like another D, right? Discovery. So unfortunately, what I have spouses who say, if you do this again, I will leave you. And hopefully they don't, because we struggle. But what Tammy said is really true. If we go to you and we say, I had this happen, I had that happen, as long as it isn't, recurrent all the time, but occasional, you will understand that we are struggling. We're doing our best, but and you'll hate what we're doing. You'll hate us, but there will be that part of you that says, they've never really been honest with me before. And now I'm not sitting around wondering what happened because something doesn't feel right to me. And they actually confirmed it. So, but in this, Tammy, I want to say it's not a dirty word, considering all we talk about. I can't believe I'm asking this question. You really fucked up. You really fucked this one up on multiple levels. And I think, the door to treatment is open to you. Because to me, this isn't about the slip. It's about how you managed it, how you handled it. You
How you
didn't
didn't
treat
manage it or handle it. Yeah.
well, I'm sure there was a choice made not to
Yeah.
tell her, because
Yeah.
no action is an action.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you completely set her up you did this to yourself. And the only thing I think you can do is work on your recovery. And by the way, I wrote Out of the Doghouse because of this issue. I actually say in the book, don't do this, do that. And one of them is own your stuff as quickly as you can, because you don't want to catching up with you and smacking you on the butt. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what happened for you. And by the way, she has no idea whether that was once or 30 times or 300 times, because you didn't tell her. She had to find out. So you've really screwed yourself, and I'm so very sorry. I think the only way to handle it is to move forward and try to do a better, and not try to do a better job. You've created and I'm sorry for you, but you've created a very difficult set of circumstances for yourself and your poor spouse. They're just waiting for the next shoe to drop and the next shoe to drop. They're completely devastated.
So I want to go back to, we have Porn Addiction 101 work group that will start again on the seekingintegrity.com site. And I'm curious what your 3-circle plan is. I'm curious if you looked at your 3-circle plan and went, oh, I'm sliding into the middle circle. Oh, wait, but before you took that action, because it feels like you just went off and did what you wanted to do. And you didn't call your sponsor. You didn't call your therapist. You didn't call your peer support. You didn't do anything. I had one guy that I love this too. He said, every time I think about relapsing, I listen to a podcast. So Dr. Rob's Sex, Love, and Addiction podcast. I was like, great choice. What a good choice to not act out, to listen to a podcast about recovery. Great choice, and so there's options, but I feel like you don't have enough support in place, to
Make the
go,
right
oh
decisions.
wait, I was in my middle circle, and I should have, I had a lot of different options, and I chose to watch porn
Right.
and not tell. So
Hey,
and the
Tammy,
24-hour rule or whatever too. Yeah.
I
What?
know we're running out of time, but I really want to answer the question from Susie M because I think it's
Yes,
really
that was the next one
useful.
I was going to.
Good, good, good.
Okay. So Dr. Rob, can you speak on the importance of trying different groups to find the right fit? It has taken several groups for my SA husband to find his fit, and for me, the betrayed partner, to see recovery of himself.
Well, there's a whole, what we say in our 12-step recovery is you have to go to 6 or more meetings before you can decide if the whole thing is for you. So he should be going, he should be going twice a week, 3 times a week. I don't know what his issues are or how bad things are, but if he's going once and then 2 weeks later he's going again, and then he's never going to get there because you have to really engage yourself. I think it is important to go to an SA group and say, no, this is a little too rigid. I don't like, let me try SAA. I don't know, my issues are more about love. Let me go to SLAA. But within, you can go to every group and every meeting with Online World in a day. So by the end of a week, this person should be able to say, I felt more comfortable here than there. And by the way, the goal is not to feel comfortable and enjoy your time there. If you're waiting to go to the meeting that just feels relaxing and comfortable and affirming, that ain't what it's about. You can do that in the life you want to create for yourself. These meetings are uncomfortable and they're soothing over time, but in the beginning, it's hard. And by the way, a lot of the people I work with will look at the sickest person in the room, the person who's molested children, and they'll say, I don't belong here because I'm not as bad as that. And those are reasons to try to get yourself out of that room because you're saying, well, I'm not that person. And what we always say is look for the similarities. Who are you like? Who do you hear telling a story that sounds familiar to you? So I'm also concerned that you're even hearing about this. What I would want to hear is I found the group and this is what I'm going through and I'm putting it on the fridge so you can see it. I'm writing it down. Why leave you feeling anxious about his or finding a fit or not finding a fit? And you know what? Here's a good thing on Tammy like this. He can go to something that isn't a fit for a while until he finds something that is. I would rather someone go to a 12-step support group or even a therapist that doesn't feel quite right than see nobody. And so while he's thinking about and trying to figure out where to go, he's not doing anything. So I suggest that he stick his butt in one of those meetings, especially one he doesn't like. And I'd like to know, if I was therapist with him, I'd say, I wonder what you don't like about that meeting, because it's often the one that you don't like that has the truth that's being told that you don't want to hear. I think Tammy like that too.
I agree. No, I love that, because like when I don't like something at a meeting, guess what it's like, I don't want to have to work on my patience and tolerance of this person or whatever, which is all about me being like, yeah, it's my character defect. So we have one more question that I want you to, because this is really important. I get this all the time. He won't do. What would you recommend I do when my husband is not ready to speak to anyone and wants to do the work by himself, which obviously doesn't work? He has been doing so much better, more present and emotionally present, but I don't feel like I can trust any of it. What should I do?
Why don't you start, Tammy, on that, if you don't mind? Sorry.
No,
Uh,
we talked a little bit about, uh, Dr. Rob's Out of the Doghouse work group. I would highly recommend that he start there. But I think having the discussions with the two of you, what is it that you need to feel safe? And you don't feel safe. You said, I don't feel like I can trust any of it. So recovery on our own isn't really recovery. Our best thinking got us in all the trouble that we got into in the first place. We need community. We need healthy attachments. We need peer support. We need people to call us on our poop. It's like we need somebody to go, hey, that's a really poor choice. The one that we were talking about a minute ago, had that person called their sponsor and said, hey, I'm thinking about this, their sponsor could have said, there's other things to do rather than go look at porn and get caught, etc. So we have to, and to be really in recovery, be in connection with other people. At our treatment program, it's one of the, well, we have the most expert treatment clinical team than of anyone on the planet. But part of it is the community. It's the guys coming together and being able to understand shame reduction, accountability, empathy, like all of the stuff, that happens within the treatment, as Dr. Rob says, milieu, it's created to help create healing. We will never read a book, as brilliant as Out of the Doghouse or any of the books are. It will never be the fix. The 12-step book, if it was just about like read a book and I can do this on my own,
Right.
we'd all read it once and we'd be fine. That isn't how it works. So, okay.
Well, I think I wrote something about that just at the end. I don't know if you saw it, but if you'd see it go by. What I wrote is that addiction is a disease of disconnection and isolation. So nobody recovers alone. The cure is connection. And if you think about it, when we're acting out, as on some level, we are seeking to connect in a very primitive, very broken, and so disconnection, trying to do it on my own, is not going to heal me, because that's like saying, well, I know I have diabetes, but if I just really don't want to take insulin and I really focus on that, I'm sure I'll be fine. No, you got to take the insulin, because that's what makes it better. In this case, we have to, as Tammy said, deeply connect with peers and build relationships in order to soothe the part of us that feels so empty, that makes us act out. So he can't. What he's doing is not recovery. Period.
And I encourage you to trust your gut. You don't trust any of this. Good for you. Trust that. So yeah.
And you can always change the locks.
But I don't want you to have to. There's hope. There's healing. We hear, we hear the hard stories, but we also hear the hope and the people that have found healing. It
like
really
us.
does happen. Yeah. So, okay. Thank you, Dr. Rob.
Good night,
Thanks,
Miss Tammy.
everybody.
See you in a couple of days, guys.
Well,
at
I'm
the
going to
treatment
see you
center
tomorrow. I've got to catch up with you tomorrow. So we've got to catch
good.
up.
And guys, the treatment center, I will be there to group tomorrow. So you'll see me tomorrow, and I'll look forward to getting to know the new people. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the people who've been there for a while. So I love going to treatment and doing treatment. It's a lot of fun. For me.
Fabulous. No, it's fabulous for everybody. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.